As a result of stimulus, central bank interventions, and vaccination rollouts, the economy rebounded quickly in 2021, following shutdowns and widespread layoffs in 2020. The current state of the economy is unusual, with high growth, quickly declining unemployment, and high inflation, as well as an expanding money supply, rising public debt, and a continuous pandemic. In this video, UNIC covers current events on geopolitical and economic issues. Before we begin, an important disclaimer is that I am not a professional economist, and the information in this video is for discussion only. It is expected that in 2022, following a rapid recovery from pandemic recession in 2021, the global economy will grow at a slower but still above average rate of 4.4%. Growth in the majority of areas' economy will slow, mostly because government assistance and demand are diminishing. South Asia, including India and Japan, are likely to expand at a higher rate in 2022 than they did in 2021, mostly because of delayed recoveries in these economies, which were more affected by Delta in 2021. In 2023, according to UN expectations, the global economy to grow at a rate of 3.5%, which is close to the predicted growth rate for the next decade. Most forecasts foresee a modest return to pre-pandemic levels of growth by 2023 or 2024, but this is debatable. The main question in 2022 is whether real GDP growth would become negative every quarter because of rising inflation. Uncertainty abounds over the economy's strength and rate of expansion in 2022. The following are the top 5 economic issues to watch out for in the coming year, and how they might play out. The connection between the United States and China, and more recently Russia, over Ukraine is crucial to global industry. In spite of rising tensions during the previous government, there was hope for progress, however, that would be in doubt due to the recent conflict over Russia and Ukraine. As a result, tensions are still high. Instead, China's regional and global challenges are increasing as President Xi Jinping's influence grows over Latin America. There is no need to look further than the Taiwan and Argentina problem to see how tensions could grow if either party pushes the point of no return. The United States cannot overlook the dangers posed by China's ambitions in the South China Sea and abroad, as it has done in the past. The United States and its partners must maintain their unity in facing China now more than ever. The initial rout of COVID-19 continues to send shockwaves through global markets. COVID-19 instances continue to rise over the world, causing new economic shocks that will last until at least 2022, if not longer, because to the huge proportion of people who are still unvaccinated, as well as the decreasing effects of vaccines and the emergence of new varieties. Developing countries have the greatest risk from COVID-19 due to a shortage of vaccines. As most of us may have witnessed, all governments are doing their best, but that may not be enough to help those in need across the world. Humanitarian concerns aside, an increase in COVID cases in some regions might disrupt supply networks around the world, causing further disruptions in production and inflation. There may not be a solution to supply chain problems in 2022 because of the danger of COVID-19, which is terrible news for both businesses and consumers. In addition to the present supply chain disruptions, organizations in every industry must face deeper supply chain issues, where to source and create, and how to distribute around the world. When the epidemic hit, production in Wuhan, China, was shut down, and that's when the supply problems started. Companies began transferring production from China to other countries as a result. Supply chain rethinking, on the other hand, extends beyond the borders of a single country or area. To avoid production and supply chain issues in the future, companies must weigh the benefits of an international versus a domestic supply chain. But one thing is clear, supply chain problems now and in the future can have a negative impact on the economy by reducing supplies and hence increasing the cost of goods. The Federal Reserve's inflation control measures are the biggest threat to the global economy in the coming year. As previously mentioned, it is still unclear if inflation is a passing phenomenon that will subside in 2022 as predicted by the Federal Reserve, or if we are entering a period of chronic price increases. Several variables contribute to today's inflation, including supply chain disruptions and rising consumer expenditure. The current inflation cannot be understood without considering the expansion of the US money supply. While the reasons and effects of the current inflation can be debated, the Federal Reserve and its chairman Jerome Powell have little doubt the remedy lies with them. Raising taxes is the only option the White House has to curb inflation. As long as inflation is seen as the result of excessive demand and supply disruptions, there is no hope of finding a solution from this conversation. There is no guarantee that the Federal Reserve's decision to reduce its bond buying program would be sufficient. The Federal Reserve may eventually have to end its bond buying program, which will lead to a rise in interest rates and a slowdown in economic development. According to a recent Bureau of Labor Statistics study, there are more than 10 million job opportunities but only 6.5 million people out of work as of January 2022. 5 million people have exited the US workforce since the pandemic began, and a record 4.4 million people voluntarily left their jobs in September. If this mismatch maintains, productivity will be harmed, and economic growth would be undermined. With an older population, retirements are increasing as a result of the flu epidemic. It's not uncommon for individuals who do change employment to get a raise, which has resulted in the highest 20-year income increase. Companies are raising their output prices as a result of growing input costs, which in turn is fueling the present inflation rate, which is a major problem for the economy. Due to the extent, complexity, and ambiguity of the challenges that will be encountered in 2022, it is difficult to predict how the economy and inflation will perform in the coming time. If the Fed fails to respond adequately to the recent spike in inflation, there is a significant chance of disastrous consequences. With the ongoing pandemic threat and escalating global political tensions, there is a lot of risk and uncertainty in the economic climate that company executives must handle. The answers are both local and global, which necessitates the agility and strategic thinking of company leaders in order to succeed. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already to see more amazing videos and get timely updates.